talk about some common problems that people run into when they're embroidering. And as a new embroiderer, this one can be a little scary. Like, what do you do? Where do you start? What's going wrong with my embroidery machine? So one of the most common ones is you're embroidering and usually the machine will stop because it'll be like, hey, what's going on? And you'll take the hoop off and you will have all sorts of embroidery thread of that color on the backside, big hairy loops. So let me just show you what one of the things is we always tell our students. And the way to check it before you start so you don't have that issue. So watch me. When I thread this machine, I'm going to hold my thread with my right hand and actually thread the machine with my left. Now right down in this first groove, this is where the tension discs are. And I will often have people floss on their way up, give that a little back and forth, and continue to hold so you get it into the take-up lever. Having trouble today here. There we go. And then you can even lower the presser foot right now after you've done that. And if this thread is tight, you know you've got it in the tensions. Now I'm talking about the top tension because if you don't get it in that top tension, that's when you get those big hairy loops. Now I will tell you, when you turn the hoop over and you're mad and you have to cut them all off, they're least easy to take out, okay? So they just come right off, and then you just need to back up your machine to be back to the stitch that you were starting, or go back to the original color and just start over. I mean, that usually happens right at the beginning, so that would be the way to get that to be the correct solution. Next, another common thing, and we're filming these in the summertime, and one thing we do notice is in the summertime, or if you're in a place that's really hot, your air conditioning is running, and that tends to play a little havoc on embroidery machines. So if you're just plugged into a wall, this is not going to be good. You're going to have these problems. What sometimes happens when the machine gets a little confused, in other words, doesn't get enough power, is that the design is embroidering, and then all of a sudden it's embroidering about an inch away. So there's like this separation, which does not look good at all. There's really no fix, and all of a sudden you realize, oh, you either have to take it all out or start over. The solution is, now, most people have it plugged into a surge protector, and I say you need to go one step further and do something called a battery backup. Check with your local computer store or office supply store. You can even order them on Amazon. They'll be here in 2 days. You need to plug an embroidery machine, which is a computer, into a battery backup. That's what I'm plugged into, and I have had no problem whatsoever. It's something that you might not notice in the wintertime, but you will notice in the summertime. It is a must, and that's what it prevents. So if you ever have any designs, and we kind of call them that they jump, they're over here instead of over here, that's a big problem. Speaking of jumping, another thing that we sometimes have happen is if this embroidery arm right here sticks off the end of the table and you get up and your chair hits this, or maybe you just bump it, or you bump into a pet who's sitting back here, what that's going to do is also offset your design. And the easiest way to fix that is just go ahead, stop, look at your stitch number where you are, turn the machine off, turn it back on. You know when it calibrates at the beginning, that's going to reset the embroidery arm and your design will be back to where you started. And the last thing I always recommend, remember, don't skip on stabilizer, always use at least 2 layers, and test out your embroidery design before you stitch it on an actual project.